We are recording. Alrighty. Welcome back, beautiful soul family, to Spiritual Growth Journeys. And I have not been on here for a while. The energies have been absolutely crazy. We've had solar eclipses and all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm seeing photographs posted all over Facebook of everything from crazy weird lights in the sky to UFOs to all kinds of weird stuff that's going on. I skipped a timeline yesterday and did a video. If you are all on Facebook, you can go to my Facebook wall, just Kimberly Palm page. And it's also, I think, in my Spiritual Growth Journeys group on Facebook too. But I did a video yesterday talking about the trees and talking about what I've been going through. I've been pretty sick for the last 10 days with what I call pretty extreme ascension symptoms due to the fact I actually had to do a lot of research and figuring this out and working with people because I was really sick and really going through a dark night of the soul too, actually. And what I found out through a very dear friend of mine who is an amazing medium who spoke with one of the goddesses, she basically said that myself and a whole bunch of you, if you're awake and you're a light worker, are processing the trauma and grief of the collective of the whole planet right now. There's some of us light workers that are literally through our bodies, we're processing all the trauma and grief. So it's affecting a lot of us in our hearts. So if you've been having a lot of heart palpitations, which I've seen tons of people posting that they're having heart palpitations, if you've been having a lot of those, the heart palpitations are very, very connected to ascension symptoms, processing grief, also stuff, layers coming up to the surface to be purged and cleared right now. A lot of people are purging a lot of stuff right now, and so it's going to make you dizzy. I've heard of people complaining about vertigo that they've never had before, dizziness, headaches, not able to sleep, or else they're sleeping all the time. They want to just sleep all the time. Needing to drink more water, having to change your diet, like really majorly. Like 1 minute you were able to eat meat, then you're not. I can't eat sugar anymore. I can't eat processed sugar. I had to go off processed sugar. I had to go off of all gluten and all wheat. And a lot of dairy stuff. I'm still eating a few dairy things, but very minimal dairy things because everything's changing in my body. So we're all going through major ascension symptoms right now. So the cure to that is, of course, love on yourself, lots of self-care, lots of grounding, which is why I did this video with the tree. Doing my tree grounding yesterday on Facebook. I did that video for you all to go see. It was a live video. And grounding every single day is pertinent to you surviving all of the energy shifts that just keep happening and happening and happening and will be happening until we're on the other end of this thing, which could be another few more years or more. We don't know how long this is going to take. So it's important for you to be drinking lots of water, eating really healthy, listening to your body, what it needs, and grounding, 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 grounding. So today I have on my show with me the beautiful Kat Whitney, who is Red Mountain Shaman. She's known as Red Mountain Shaman on YouTube, and she is a shaman. And for those of you who don't know, I am also a shaman, which is why I'm wearing my wolf today, my wolf spirit animal by energy artist Julia necklace, because wolf is my spirit guide. That's my main spirit guide. I also have eagle and hawk and dragonfly who pop in from time to time, but wolf is my main official spirit guide. And I think, Kat, you said you wanted to chat about that later on in the show today. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But I was trained by a Navajo elder shaman to be a shaman many years ago, back like 15 or more years ago. I don't call myself a shaman at all. I call myself a spiritual teacher and a modern day Essene and Gnostic Christian, and that is because my focus is not on the shamanistic techniques that I learned. Like, I use some of them in my own practice and day-to-day life, but that's not like my whole business or my whole focus. My focus is really on the work I've been doing around Yeshua and the bringing back the Essene teachings and helping people with their ascension, really focusing on ascension versus the shamanism, and the bits and pieces of the shamanism play into the work I do. But I don't like to say I'm a shaman because I don't want people to think that's that's just who I am, and that's what I do. But I am. So Kat, do you want to tell everybody? First of all, I want to tell you all what we're going to be talking about today is empowerment, taking back your power, empowering yourself in different ways. And that's because I've had a lot of people that I've been working with over the last 4 years that are just giving their power away left and right. And it's really important for us to bring it all in and grab it and wrangle it. And, like a roper, like ride and rope, like a cowboy, rope that empowerment and bring it back on in. So it's really important for us to do that. So Kat, do you want to introduce yourself to everyone and just tell everybody who you are, what you do, how you got here? You were sharing your story with me earlier about your awakening, which was really incredible. And
Yeah, so well, first of all, I wanted to say, as just light workers or star seeds in general, we all have a lot of crossovers, and we're all individuals, So in my journey, my guides, that it was shamanism from the beginning, from my awakening. And so that's why I've gone that route of calling myself a shaman, because the guides have asked me to.
mm-hmm.
And when you're initiated into shamanism, there's like several ways that people are initiated into it. But one of the ways is that the spirits ask you to do it. So I didn't even know what shamanism was. I had no interest in being a shaman, and I just suddenly started to hear the guides, and they started training me. So I've been completely trained by spirit, which is, some people might think that's strange, but I personally feel like who better to teach you than ascended beings that have tons and tons of experience. I would trust them over any human.
Yep.
So yeah, the spirits chose me and started working with me, and that's how I started getting into shamanism. And I remember I was in a thrift store one day, and I walked past an end cap, and there was a book about Celtic shamanism on the end. And so it kind of caught my eye, and I just kept walking. And then a voice just told me, you need to go back and buy that book. So I went back and bought it. And then that was my introduction to shamanism. And I started reading, the characteristics and qualities of a shaman and what they do. I was like, oh, I'm already a shaman. Like, it just completely matched up with what I am, what I do. They're usually very creative, very eccentric. It just, all of it just fell into place. And then after that, the guides just started training me and showing me what it was all about. And one of the first concepts they taught me was that everything is intention and everything is energy. So from there, it was, once I grasped onto that, it was easy to understand everything that they were teaching me. So then from there, I started working on people and started, they guided me to make a website. And then about a year or two ago, they guided me to make a YouTube channel, which I did not want to do. So all of this stuff is like nothing that was on my plate or that I had desire, or I had no inkling of this path at all. So it just kind of opened up to me and presented itself, and I started being guided as to how to use this shamanism in my life and to help other people, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yep. Awesome. And, I got to tell you, it's kind of like I went through a similar kind of thing. I mean, I've been awake most of my life, but in different increments. I've talked about this over and over on YouTube about how, I was awake spiritually at the age of 12 already. I already knew about all that, I was studying all the spiritual stuff. And then when I was 19, I got awake about the medical cabal and all that kind of thing. And then about 9 years ago, I learned about pretty much all the other stuff, the whole evil empire, the whole, all that. And then 4 years ago, I learned about the Ascension, and I learned about that just like you through my guides, which was Yeshua when he popped in and he told me we're going through the planets ascending, and he had to give me the whole download. And then I wrote my book Ascension 101, and I had no interest in ever writing another book because I had written a book in 2011 that I spent 5 years writing, which was my Fountain of Youth Health. It was like a body, mind, spirit healing book. And I lost so much money producing that whole thing, and I promised my family I'd never write another book again. And I got really angry when Yeshua popped in and said, you're going to write this book. And I'm like, no, because my husband's going to divorce me if I write that book. Because I promised everybody I wouldn't write another book. And he's like, this isn't going to be the same experience. Trust me. It's going to be a better, more positive experience for you, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to dictate all the info, and you're just going to type, write it all. And so it's interesting how they give us kind of marching orders. It sounds like you got the same, where your guides are saying you need to do this, you need to do that, and you just do it. And you don't really question them. Like I would never ever, I do sometimes, because I'm really stubborn minded and I get into arguments with God all the time. So every now and then I will question and say, why me? Why do I have to do this? But most of the time when he's giving me info, though, I just run with it, because I know he wouldn't lie to me. The one thing I know is they won't lie. They never lie, ever, ever, ever. So if they say, don't go to this event on this day because something bad's going to happen, you need to listen, because they're not making that stuff up. So that's really important.
Yeah, and we have free will. I could have said no, but it was kind of a terrifying initiation. Honestly, there was a lot of stuff I needed to clear and learn about with dealing with spirits. There was a psychopomp experience that was really intense, with a lot of people that needed to be crossed over from the Paradise Fires. Just so many things happened within the space of like a year or two. And but I'm glad that I said yes, and I'm glad that I went with it, because it's also, as terrifying as it was, now I have nothing to be afraid of, and I know what's going on. They've told me what's going on the planet, what's going on in the world, and I can share that information with other people. And sometimes it can be a very thankless path, but it's also very rewarding, because then there are, the few people that will really appreciate the work that you're doing. And so it is worth it, because it does affect people in a positive way, the people that are open to it, so and if they're not open to it, you just have to let them go. That's their own path. Everybody has free will. So I just try to put out the intention that the right people will meet me at my energy field, and the people that don't resonate with what I do, they have their free will, and that's okay. They have their path,
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So today we are going to talk to you all about empowerment. And what I'm going to do is I want to kind of explain why this whole topic came up for video, and why Kat and I had this discussion and said, let's do it. I'm going to just tell you my thing, and then I'm going to let Kat go ahead and go into all of her ideas of ways that we need to empower ourselves, because when we were on the phone, she just bang, 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 bang. She just lays it all out, and she's awesome. She really knows this stuff. I really appreciate that about you, Kat, that you really have it all down. Like you've got it all, figured out, and you really, you know what I mean? You really feel comfortable in this information, and you've obviously totally empowered yourself, which, because if you hadn't, you wouldn't be able to share that with me, what we were talking about, if you weren't there yet. So you obviously have gotten to that point where you feel empowered enough that you can share that kind of information with everybody. So yeah. So how this all came about is I had a client about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago. I don't know when it was. It was a while back. And she had grandchildren that happened to be taken over by demons. They were being manipulated by demonic entities that somehow attached to these little kids. And we're talking little 3 and 4 year old kids, and they're little innocent children. And, the parents are not awake and don't really understand about spiritual stuff and everything like that. And she needed to clear these kids, and she was, trying to figure out, well, do I have to hire an exorcist? What am I going to have to do? And what I started channeling all this info for her, and it was coming through, and it from my higher self and creator. And it was that you have a divine authority when you are what we call the elder. And this goes along with Native American teaching and traditions. In Native American families and tradition, you have these elders that are the ones that everybody looks up to in the community, and in each family you have an elder. Like if you have like an old grandma or grandpa, they are the elder and they're like almost the chief of your family, and they're the ones that everybody goes to for advice and help and wisdom. When you are the grandma and you're the eldest one in your family, there isn't anyone above you at all or equal to you, like siblings. It's just you, you're the grandma, whatever. Or, well, even if you have siblings or you're the grandpa, you have the divine authority as the grandma, grandpa, elder of that family to take your power back and to do the clearing and healing and praying and all of that work for your grandchildren and your children. And I feel like sneezing, so just a second. Sorry. Lots of dust in here, plus stuff blooming outside of my window.
That's it.
Yeah, you have the power and authority to clear your own grandchildren. You don't need to have me do it for you. You don't need to hire a exorcist to come in and clear your grandchildren. What I do when I'm in a private session with people is I empower them and I teach them the tools to take back their power and do all the work that they want to go and pay people to go do for them, that they don't need to do that. They don't need to go pay healers to heal them always. I mean, sometimes you do. I even go to healers from time to time, but first I try to heal myself. And then as a last resort, I will go to other people to help me and guide me. And same for counseling. You know, I try to get my own wisdom from the other beings, but sometimes the other beings want, like Yeshua, want me to go to one of my friends or my, you know, counselor
Or there's
or
a
somebody.
connection that needs to be made.
Yeah.
With somebody, like if you're not quite getting the answer that you need, they want you to connect. Like you and I connected.
Yeah.
Interesting ways. I mean, when I saw your video about your book, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been getting the same information. You know, some of the Egyptian stuff that we've talked about, and Yeshua and Mary, and so that's what I mean when like there's a lot of crossover. I think with people who are volunteers to be here to be teachers, you know. So it's really interesting, and I think that we're coming into a time where many of the volunteers are going to be uniting a little bit more and maybe
Yes.
projects together, and
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes. But I feel like that's going to be coming up more and
Well,
more.
we have to. Well, I've already been getting together with other light workers and healers to do work for the last 4 years now. But it's just getting more and more stronger where we have to work together as a group. I was told when I was launched with this Ascension work 4 years ago, he said, this time you're not going to be a lone wolf, because I was a lone wolf last time. You know, I like my wolves. I was a lone wolf when I back in from 2011 to 2017 or so, when I was doing healing and work. And as a result, I crashed and burned because I wasn't, you know, depending on other people to work together and play in the playground. It was just me trying to do everything myself, and that didn't work so well for me. And so this time around, 4 years ago, and he's like, you all need each other, because the only way the planet's going to ascend is all of you have to come together and work together and everything. But the thing with this lady is she needed to do work on her grandkids. So what did I do? I channeled through, you know, here's what you're going to do step by step by step to clear the demonic entities off your own grandkids, because those kids had their free will stolen. They didn't give permission for demons to come on them. If, you know, that's a new age thing. Oh, you brought that to yourself. You attracted that to you somehow. Little children and newborn babies don't attract anything to themselves. That's a lie. Anybody who tells you that your child manifested blah blah blah, that's a big lie. Little children don't even know how to do that. They're innocent. They're very innocent, and there's demonic entities that go after babies and children all the time. You see on all these paranormal shows, I don't know if you watch them, Kat, but there's umpteen of these ghost shows and paranormal shows on TV where they will show a nursery where the baby is being traumatized horribly, and they'll set up a camera in the nursery, and you can see that it's being attacked by demonic or ghosts or poltergeists. Yeah, they're being attacked by some sort of an entity. Do you think that poor innocent little baby attracted that to themselves or manifested it? You know, that's baloney. That's all malarkey. And so when you're a little child who has no control and no free will in that case, it's been stolen from them, you can step in and take back your power and step in as the leader of your family or the mom. Even if you're a mom, it's you are the mom and that's your child. You have the right to step in and protect that child from those entities and to get rid of them.
Right. And I want to say something too, like I've also, my guides told me, you know, you don't even need to deal with the entity. You can call on the the ascended masters and the archangels to come and help you. Like if you're afraid of that, like, well, first of all, you should never be in fear, because that
that empowers them.
Empowers you.
Yeah, it disempowers you, but it powers them up. It actually feeds them, and they get
fear.
power.
They feed on fear, so that powers them up and disempowers you when you're in fear. So the first thing is to not be fearful of that kind of stuff. And the second thing would be to call in a team. And I personally mostly work with ascended masters like Yeshua, like you do, Mary Magdalene, who I believe is also Isis. I work with the highest archangels, because I know that they have a lot of power. And I believe in that power. And when I call on that power, and I call on them in sessions too, and I call that the most appropriate being of these ascended, beautiful beings who are here to help us will come in with the right energy that that person needs. And you can do that if you have children, or you feel something in your home, you can call on those beings. They want you to call on them. They've told me, you're never bothering us. We want to help you. And it's really difficult for them to help you if you're not asking them to help you, because you have free will. So they can't just come in like you need to ask them. So I think that's the problem, is a lot of people are not asking for help. So the help is there. We just need to ask for it and believe in it. If you don't believe in that, then you're not going to have that power of those beings with you.
Yep, absolutely. You have to believe.
Your faith has made you whole, right? Sorry, go ahead.
Yep. Well, and Kat, you were raised in the Mormon tradition, right? Weren't you Mormon and you left? So Kat, it's just like Kat and I have so much in common. We were both raised in these really, we both were educated in these kind of radical indoctrinated religions. I was an indoctrinated hardcore Catholic, and Kat was a hardcore, Mormon growing up. And we both got out of that when we realized the truth of everything. And it's funny because part of how Kat and I connected is, I listened to her videos and she listened to mine, and we're like, we agree on the same things. You were looking at my posts and we're like, wow, we're talking to the same people. We have the same beings that we're working with, and we're getting the same information, and we're getting like the same downloads and the same information.
Well, what's really cool too is I've never even read your books yet.
No, but you already knew all the info that was in there.
Like my guides gave me a lot of this kind of esoteric information that I had told you, and you're like, oh yeah, that's in my book. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to buy your book yet, because I want to.
No, because you already know so much of it.
I like to compare notes before I get influenced by it and see how it is already there. And we totally resonated on that. So much information that was in your book already. So I know that we're like on the same wavelength in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're both musicians too, and singers. You sing and you play music and write lyrics and all that. I write lyrics. I can't write the music. I'm not good at composing music, but I do write lyrics, and I write poetry, and then I sing. I'm a trained opera singer, and I play piano. So, and also my shamanic, I got my shamanic musical stuff here, my drum.
I've got my drums.
My elkskin. This was made by a Native American up in the Pacific Northwest out of Elkskin, but
gorgeous.
I
just
it was
picked
not
one up
cheap.
in Arizona that was made by a Native American as well in Flagstaff, and it's just a beautiful drum.
That was my 50th birthday gift to myself. I'm going to be 58.
Mine was my birthday present too.
Yeah, in November I'm going to be 58 this year, but when I turned 50, so that was 8 years ago, I always wanted a real drum, and so I went and I ordered it, and back then it was like $150 back then. It was like a lot of money, and now they're even higher than that. I know an artist named Nell Bliss, who actually is the one who made this picture back here of Mary Magdalene, that's actually what she really looked like. She is, and she's done all kinds of other pictures. She's an amazing artist. She takes those elkskin drums and then she paints them with beautiful, just incredible paints, but then they sell for a lot of money. They're not cheap for those things.
Oh,
So
I got a good deal on mine, but yeah. Well, I
yeah,
wanted to talk about like, so, we're talking about taking back your power.
yeah, taking your power back.
So the first thing I would ask yourself is like, well, so what is disempowering you?
Yeah.
I think for a lot of us who've left religion, we have to look at what was the power structure within the religious paradigms. Almost all of them have like a power structure going on, and so what they're doing is they're creating a mediator. And so, like in Mormonism, if you're having a problem or whatever, you go to the bishop and it's kind of like going to confession as a Catholic. You said Catholic?
Yeah, I was Catholic.
So it's a little bit like that. Like when you go to a bishop,
mm-hmm.
It's almost like a confession. You go there and if you're having issues and you repent. So what I realized when I left was that I have a direct connection already. I don't need a middleman between me and God. So for me, taking back my power was having a direct line to the Creator, or what the Native Americans like to call the Great Spirit.
Yeah.
And I learned from my guides and from so many experiences is that animism is, a very prevalent belief in shamanism, that the Great Spirit runs through everything. It's in a rock, it's in everything. I've even had experiences talking to my car, like, and it's like the Creator was in there and answered me. I'll make a video about that in the future, but it was like a trippy experience, and it answered me back. It's like I was like, well, how is the car answering me with this question? Because the car doesn't have a brain. And the answer back to me was like, well, the Great Spirit is within everything. It's God answering you. And so that's with like, even with animals, with everything, like God is within all of us, within everything. And then it's just a matter of like empowering yourself by believing in that force of God and connecting to it and being in a flow state with the Creator. And that is how I live my life now. I am directed always, going within and being directed by the Creator, by being in that flow state with the Great Spirit of all that is. So that's what empowers me. That's the main thing I would say right
now. Me too. I agree and resonate with that so much. And the other thing about that input that I want to give is the fact that, okay, I've had so many clients come to me who are Mormon or born again Christian or this or that, and they tell me, Kimberly, my pastor told me I'm not allowed to talk directly to Jesus or to any angels or to God or Archangel Michael. I'm not allowed to do that. You had to go through that minister or that pastor, and they're basically taking all your power away from you. They're stripping it away.
And what reason would you have to go to a religion if they didn't do that? So
exactly.
They have to do that, or you just would have no reason to.
You'd have no reason to go there. And back in the days,
like it for the social structure.
Oh, right, but
there's so many things you can do to have a social outlet. All kinds of meetups and spiritual groups.
I go to all kinds of spiritual group meetups all the time, but prayer groups too. I mean, I'm part of like the White Light Express. My best friend Sarah created this nonprofit organization for intercessory prayer like 20 plus years ago. It's called the White Light Express, and everybody gets together in there and we pray for people, for their needs and their healing and stuff like that. And I mean, Yeshua was teaching where two or more are gathered. All you have to do is get together with somebody else, and that is the church. That's what he taught, that the actual church is not going to a building and paying money to be there and have this person who's possibly a pedophile or who knows what running your service. What a church really is where two or more people are coming together with the same intention or prayers, and they can pray together. And this is where we really take our power back, is when we stop going and giving our money away to these big buildings, these big fancy buildings, and these systems that they've created with dogma and doctrine, because all these churches are is just dogma and doctrine, and none of the churches were created by God. They were all created by men. I mean, did you know there's 40,000, I'm not making this up, 40,000 different types of churches and religions. 40,000.
Crazy.
And out of those, many thousands of them are different types of Christianity. And Yeshua never came here and said, go set up 40,000 different types of churches. He was not here to teach that.
Yeah. And it's very divisive. I think like the dark forces have set these things up to divide people into all
divide and conquer
different groups. And then they fight about what they believe and what they don't believe, So it's like, when you really go within, you start learning what are eternal truths, what's universal law. That's a good thing people can look up too. Like, what is universal law? It's much different than like all these little nitpicky rules that these churches decide to do. Cover this up, cover that up, don't say this or don't eat that, or it gets really petty. And I think
they have all these rules. They have these rules.
Yeah.
Do you know Kat?
Universal law. I'm not saying there's no laws,
No. Well, there's the law of one. There's the law of one, and that's what all of the ETs actually use out in the universe. The Pleiadians and all them, they go by the law of one, and that's what the Essenes were teaching too. It was a huge portion. I talk about the Essenes in my newest book about Yeshua, but the biggest things the Essenes were teaching was the law of one. That was the biggest thing they were teaching, because that's the thing that they used in Atlantis and Lemuria and all over prior to 20 something thousands years ago, before the world was put into the slave matrix. That before we were trapped in the slave matrix, the law of one was the law of the land, and it was the religious law and the religion that everyone practiced. And that's why I say Yeshua was the first ascension teacher, because he actually came back here to teach us how to ascend and how to commune directly with God and how to empower. He was the first empowerment coach too, because he was trying to give everybody back, to take back their power.
Absolutely. He said, even you shall do greater things than I. Like, that's one of my favorite things that he said, and that, to me, that just blows religion kind of out of the way, because it opens the path for you to be your own guru, to be your own you take back that divine empowerment. And also, when we're thinking about things that disempower us, think about all these structures that are now starting to collapse. During the Klan pandemic, they kept saying, trust the experts, but now we're seeing that these experts have been wrong on a lot of stuff, and so
purposely wrong, because it was all part of a plan that they've been planning going all the way back to the 1980s or 90s or whenever they first concocted this whole thing. So,
and I have a little story I wanted to share about trusting experts that I learned from the crow. So it was, and I think it was during that 2020 time, but I had a baby crow that I came across. I'm always having animals come to me for help, but it was just kind of hopping around. And so we took it home and we had it in a box, and we were taking care of it for a bit. And I was like, okay, so the first thing I need to do is go to an expert, and I need to go to the wildlife rescue. And so the advice that I got from the expert was to go put the crow back. And had I listened to my own intuition, everything inside of me was saying, no, if I take the crow back, it's going to die. It's going to be attacked. It can't fly yet, And so I was like, but it's an expert. I have to listen to the expert. And so I took the crow back, and we went to visit it a couple times. It was doing okay for a couple days. And then on the third day we went, and it was just obliterated by probably a dog or something, So had I listened to my intuition, I probably would have given it to my friend who had a chicken coop and another crow that she was raising until it could fly. And I would have taken it to her, but I just said, well, they know best, So what somebody says as an expert is not always right. I think the expert is us. Like, we need to empower
our higher self
and listen. Yes, call in our higher self. our higher self is way smarter than any human expert
Yes.
out there. And so once we start, listening to that higher self, when I first started hearing the guidance come in and my ability started coming online, I said, well, who is guiding me? Who is talking to me? And I just heard it's the great spirit and your higher self. It's a combination of
Mm-hmm.
those two things.
Yep.
So
That's what
that
I
is
get.
what is empowering you. If once you come into alignment with that and you are listening to that intuition within,
Mm-hmm.
it'll just sound like your own voice.
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
yeah, so that is true empowerment when you start listening to that, to
Mm-hmm.
great spirit and your own higher self.
Mm-hmm.
That's true empowerment, and that's what when you're going to be guided to truth and to
Mm-hmm.
what you need to do in every situation, rather
Yep.
than relying on big pharma or relying on your school board to tell you what is the best for your child or whatever it may be out there. You need to go within what's best
Mm-hmm.
for me and my child. And I think that that's what's really disempowered humanity the most, is giving away our power to outside authorities. It's time to go into our inside authority. We have the authority within us. That's
I
the
call it my
divine.
Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit within me.
Yeah,
Like when I want to ask my higher self questions, I say I call upon my divine Holy Spirit within me.
right.
And the reason why your inner self, your inner compass knows everything is because your soul that resides in your body is always attached to prime creator 24/7. It never ever is detached from prime creator. You are a part of prime creator, so you are always connected to source or the great spirit. Always, you are always connected to it. And so that great spirit or prime creator has the answers to everything. So when you are,
Absolutely.
yeah, so when you're connecting to your higher self and you're really truly listening to your higher self, you're getting stuff from that goes back millions of years or billions or infinity, and you're getting stuff that goes forward. I even one day I was asking my higher self, I said, do you know my entire does my higher self know my entire future going all the way forward into my future? And the answer was yes, absolutely. Because there is no time outside of Earth either.
Right.
Everything
I
all
call that the
exists.
I am presence. It's,
Yeah.
it's the presence, it's your own presence that's connected to God.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about like helping people that have been maybe like hijacked from dark forces, or their free will has been taken over, what I do is I always go to their I am presence, their higher self,
Mm-hmm.
and I ask them, is it okay if I send you healing? Is it okay if I send you love? And their higher self will then take that, what you're sending them, and then distribute it as the human incarnation is ready to integrate. Because sometimes I think people are wanting to experience some heavy duty stuff in order for soul growth, so you don't want to interfere with their journey. And so I just send it to the higher self, and I get permission
Mm-hmm.
from the higher self, and then the higher self can give it to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we were talking on the phone about this earlier. That it's kind of like when I'm doing a session with the client and they're sitting there and saying, will you do a soul reading on my mom and my brother and my husband and my this and that? And I can't just do that because I don't have those people on the phone to get their permission. So
Right.
what I do is I also ask their higher self, or I ask prime creator, I say, am I allowed to tap into this person? Do I have permission to tap into their energy to give this whoever the person is on the phone information about their brother or wife or husband or whatever? Because some of these people are like on a learning path, and there's certain reasons why they're not supposed to know the information, and you just
Right.
never you
I
just
never
never know.
tap into anybody's energy unless
Yeah.
they ask me to, or unless that
Yeah.
person is affecting my energy in a negative way,
Mm-hmm.
which has happened to me recently. So
Right.
you know, uh, if somebody is draining your energy, I think that you have the ability to look into that person and see what's going on, so that you could
Mm-hmm.
stop that energy drain. I had to cut cords with this person, because they had entities that were feeding off of my energy. I could feel the drain, you
Yeah,
know?
that's
So I
terrible.
felt justified in looking into what was going on there because it was affecting me personally. But other
Hmm.
than that, I will never look into other people's energy. I mean, unless they're like, if somebody's like trolling me or online or on my channel or something, I pick up on it immediately and I usually just ignore them because you get that, people have demons and dark stuff on them and they don't like us doing our work. So they'll just antagonize you. And if you engage with that, you're just getting quantumly entangled with those kind of people. And you just don't, I just ignore them or block them.
Hmm. Yep, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm going to be doing I think I told you this earlier, that I got pushed by my higher self today after reading yet another email of somebody going on and on and on and on with kind of this egoic kind of stuff. I'm going to be doing a video this week about the big thing that's blocking people's ascension, which has a lot to do with ego thing that people are going through. So I'm not going to say exactly what I'm going to be talking about yet in that video because I want it to be a surprise, but I'm going to be doing a pretty major teaching, and it all boils down to also empowerment, because all of these people want to give their power away to how do you want to say, all these other people and other groups and other psychics who tell them you are this and you are that and you are this. Why don't you find out on your own through your own higher self and connection to source who you really are? Stop coming to me and asking me to tell you who you really are. Stop going to other people. This one person that wrote me a letter, oh, I was in this group and it was some new agey kind of crazy group where 4 people told this person that they were Jesus. Yeah, well, in my book, all about Jesus, I said, he's not here in a physical body and he can't come back here in a physical body. That's not even possible. Why? Because it would be for him, curtains for him.
Take them
Okay.
out right away.
Yeah, they not only that, they take out the mother of whoever gave birth to him. Okay. So it would be just like the Terminator movie. They show you in Hollywood exactly what they do, what they want to do to you. And they would go after the savior's mother. It'd be like going back and
anybody can connect to him. He's here in spirit.
yeah, he's here
I
in the
see him
spirit form.
all the
Mm-hmm.
time. I converse with him. I call on
Mm-hmm.
him for help. So Jesus has already returned. Yes,
Yeah.
he doesn't like. He told me he doesn't like the name Jesus
No.
because the religion has actually inverted his mission,
Everything.
who he is, the whole thing. So he really doesn't like that name.
He doesn't like it at all. He told me, and I found this out the hard way. Like I said, I was really into the Catholic Church and I was calling him Yesu and Jesus. And then he told me back, this was like 4 or 5 years ago, he popped into my room. I saw him, I heard him, and he said, my name is Yeshua ben Yosef. There is no letter J in Hebrew or Aramaic. He said, they lied about everything. My name is not Jesus. I don't like to be called by that name. I will answer people who pray to that name because they don't know any better.
Right.
But that is not how he likes to be referred to.
Yeah, if you know better, do better. He just doesn't
Yeah.
like that name because it's connected to religion.
It's
all been completely twisted.
Well, it means Lucifer. If you go to Gematria, gematrix.org, GEMATRIX.org, you put in the name Jesus and then you put in the name Lucifer, they have the same gematria numbers. They created that name specifically to trick people into praying to Lucifer. And then the name Yesu, Jesu, like that song P.A. Yesu that kid sang in the London America's Got Talent show. The Yesu, Jesu, is the same gematria as Satan. You can put in Satan into there. They created those names to fake people out.
What do you get? Who gave him that name? Are you getting that was the Romans or?
No, that was given to him in the 1700s. It was when they rewrote the Bible again in Switzerland. And he actually gave me this info himself. He said when they rewrote the Bible in Switzerland, it was that Bible they redid in like 1800, something like that. The Gutenberg or one of those Bibles, when they rewrote the King James Bible, they changed the name to Jesus. Because if you could find a Bible that was from circa 1200s, he was either called Yeshua Emmanuel, the Christ, or Jesus. If you're in the Greek Orthodox Church, to this day they don't call him Jesus. They call him by the Greek version of Yeshua, which is Jesus. It's Iessus, which is the proper Greek word for his name. And there's nothing wrong with that name because it doesn't refer to anything nefarious or dark or anything like that. But in the 1800s, whenever that was, in Switzerland, they took and they redid the Bible again. And that particular Bible that they redid is the one that everybody's using all over the world now to this day. And
I
they
have a
changed the
video
name.
on what they told me. It was like the Council of Nicaea was part of it too,
Yeah.
where it started to invert a lot of the stuff that was in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
like Revelation was completely inverted. The whole part about what is it called? The rapture. They say, the
opposite.
Christians are going to be raptured. It's actually all the bad guys are getting raptured out of here. They're all getting obliterated out of our planet. Yeah. The meek shall inherit the earth. And he pounded that one into my head because he kept repeating it to me over and over.
Yeah.
And when you ask him, Yeshua, who are the meek? And he said, you are the meek. He said, you and your people.
It's the pure in heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. The pure in heart will inherit the earth. So if you have pure intentions and a pure heart, I think that we are going to start having a reversal of resources coming back to the pure in heart. I don't know when that's going to be, but I'm really hoping.
Yeah, the financial systems are going to switch pretty soon.
I think we're going to go to a gold back system. I have a video about that. So yeah, I think that, we need to call in our own divine empowerment. We need the guides keep telling me, keep dreaming your highest dream. You might not have the resources for that dream yet, but keep dreaming it. Think about what empowers you, what brings you joy, and what makes your soul sing. So, and they're talking about developing our talents and remembering our divine abilities. Those abilities are going to become more powerful for those who choose to stay here. And like I said, the pure in heart. And I think another thing that is really empowering, ironically, is humility, and really to try not to be in the ego. And when we are in a humble kind of a mode, I think it really allows for more truth to come through. Yeshua told me, the second that you think you know everything is the moment of the end of learning. So when we are in a surrender to spirit, we, surrender meaning I don't know everything. I'm surrendering to you. What can you tell me? That's when we get gnosis, is when we are in a state of surrender and flow rather than I know everything. So that's really important. It seems counterintuitive to be powerful in a state of surrender and humility, but I think that that's when you're the most powerful, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And the one thing I learned from my BFF and sister Sarah is that she said, when you stop learning, because I always tell people I only know such a tiny amount of what's out there. The minute you think you know everything about everything is when you cease to exist, and you go back to source, and you get merged back up into source, because the whole purpose of us incarnating into not only into forms, but the whole purpose of your soul being separate, like an actual soul that's not actual God. It's an expression, a unique expression of God. You're only a unique expression of God until you've gone through all the lessons that are in the universe, which could go on for infinity. I mean, it could go on for billions of years, but once you learn everything there is to learn, there's no reason for you to even exist anymore. And then you merge back with what they call the Godhead, or, with the source. So we're always on a quest. And that's why in my book, Ascension 101, I talk about what's called your soul purpose versus your missions, because when you come to Earth or any planet in space, you have many different missions of why you came here. Okay. You could have 4, 5, 6 missions, but your soul, every single soul only has 4 purposes. And it's the same for every soul, which is to be unconditional love, to grow and to learn, to get closer to source. Those are your, part of your soul purposes. And to, go higher up, to ascend, is one of them, you know, to ascend through the levels of consciousness. That's part of your soul purpose. So that is what we're doing. And that's also why this classroom planet has good and evil. That's why there is what they call duality, and why there is good and bad. Because if this was like heaven, it would be boring as hell. My son and I got in a discussion about this one day, and he said, Mom, if we're going to ever turn, he said, I listen to you and your ascension baloney all the time, because he doesn't believe. And he's like, and he's really analytical. Okay. He's very left brain analytical. And he says to me, Mom, if that was true and we were going to turn heaven into earth, why would we even bother being here? Why do we need to be there here? Because he said, if there is a heaven, that heaven is like this perfect, boring place. And then he said, if there is a heaven, why would you even want to stay in heaven? Because he said, that would be so boring, Mom. If everything was always perfect and wonderful all the time, you would be just bored to tears. And the same with the earth. Well, and I said to him, this is what I said, and this is the truth. And I said this in my book. So back in the days of Atlantis, when this earth was paradise, it was the Garden of Eden. The whole earth was the Garden of Eden. It was created as a classroom with 80% good all the time and 10 to 20% bad. Okay, what does that mean? That means you could send your kid to school and they may get bullied once or twice, but they're not going to get bullied every day, and they're not going to go to school and get picked off by a trafficker and taken away into tunnels and eaten by a creature at some point. Okay, that didn't happen. What did happen was there's a little bit of challenge, there's a little bad, you might have gotten in a fight with your spouse or something, but then you would make up and you would learn from it and you would move on. What happened when the Draco took over this planet and Satan and Lucifer took over this planet, it flipped. Not only did they flip the poles, but they flipped the whole trajectory of your learning experience to go from 20% bad to 80 to 90% bad and only 10% good. So the whole planet is suffering, despair, sorrow, grief, trauma, pain, starvation, murder, kill, rape, pillage, blah, 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 and on and on and on. They turn this into this horrible hell-like place. Why? Because the archons, the demons, and the Draco, they feed off the loosh of our suffering energy. Every time you're in fear, every time you're in anguish or pain or sorrow or suffering, they feed off of that. And so they flip the whole thing totally in their favor. When we ascend, we're flipping it back. Is it going to be 100% perfect? No. There's always going to be a little bit of bad on this planet, because otherwise, why have the planet? Why wouldn't you just stay in heaven and not come here? It's not worth it.
I was told that even the most enlightened being that decides to incarnate on this planet will learn something.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter how advanced of a soul that we are, maybe eternally, we will always learn something when we come here. And another thing I was told was that this planet is actually returning to that paradisical state.
Yes.
So we're coming out of what the yogis like to call the Kali Yuga, which is, we're as humanity, we're always going through cycles. And so, and people think, God is punishing us. Why is God allowing this?
I hear it all the time.
It's not God allowing it. It's
us.
So we come here, and this is there's another person that channels Yeshua, and she always says, this is the ego's playground.
Yeah.
We come here and we're in the ego, and so we create these horrible things,
bad scenarios.
But I do think that we at some level we decide that we want to experience the darkness, and so that we can grow as souls. If we were just always in perfect light and beauty and joy, how could we learn anything without any duality? So I think that humanity chooses to go through these cycles. And so what's happening right now is we're coming at the end of a Kali Yuga, or a cycle. And I had a journey where I was on this horse, and we kept just going down this canyon, down, spiraling down. And I was like, where are we going? Why do we keep going lower and lower? And then I just heard, we're almost to the bottom of the barrel. It's like, we're almost to the end of this really dark, heavy cycle, And so then when we're at the bottom, there's no place to go but up.
Exactly.
So we're almost there, and I feel like
Wow.
we're going to start shifting. I already actually feel a big shift.
I do too. I felt like
And
it shifted huge.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
feel like beautiful things are coming. It seems really horrific and authoritarian
Hmm.
and tyrannical and all that stuff, but deep down, I do feel like the pure in heart are going to inherit the earth, and something, I don't know how it's going to happen, but
Yeah.
feel it. I feel something is coming that's going to be very like, and I keep being told, well, you're going to sing and dance in celebration, and I've heard other psychics and
Yeah,
people
I've
say,
seen visions of
"Oh,
everybody partying in the streets everywhere, all over the
yeah,
world. And that song by ELO, "There's going to be a party all over the world," was going
yeah,
through my head. And I was being shown visions of people. And it wasn't protesting, it was people actually celebrating and
celebrating."
happy,
Yep,
like really
I
happy
get the
all
same.
over, like
And I
everywhere.
also keep my ancestral guides are all mostly Native American, and
Hmm.
they keep telling me like these circle dances are gonna start happening again, where we get together as what they call the rainbow prophecy. I've had several videos about this where all races start coming together in unity.
Hmm.
It's, and the Native American culture and spirituality is so, sorry about my phone. It's so close to source. They just have a way of connecting to the great spirit and nature and animals, so I really resonate with, my guides have said that's the deepest past life imprint that I've brought with me in this life.
Hmm.
So that definitely is like where I draw most of my shamanic practice from, is from that culture. But they keep telling me we're going to have like beautiful ceremonial circle dances again, where more, all of the races will come together in love and joy. So
Hmm.
I hope I see that in my lifetime, because I'm never given a timeline. But I mean, it could be after I leave this planet. I don't
Yeah,
know.
me too.
I
I've
hope I'm
never,
here.
I hope I'm here too, because they won't tell me exact dates, because every time they used to give dates, and then the dates would get ruined, because when we would put them out in the public, the bad guys would use their time travel devices and screw up the timelines.
That's
I just
probably
shut
why they're
down.
not giving dates, so nobody knows what's going on the bad side.
Yeah,
But
when Kat and I were on the phone earlier, I was telling her how I had another experience where I was shutting down another UFO obliteration timeline, where these UFOs are bad and they come in and they're killing everybody on the earth. And even though we know that we don't think that's going to happen, the bad guys keep creating multiples of these timelines. And so myself and other light workers, there's millions of us. Well, I doubt millions, but there's thousands of us for sure that are what we call light workers, who are working at night when we're sleeping. When our bodies are sleeping, we're leaving our body and we're going and we're shutting down all these bad false timelines that they keep setting up over and over, trying to get us onto what they call the singularity, just that one really good positive timeline. And that was when I sat down. I don't know if you've seen my video I did where I was because I do a lot of videos where I sit down with Yeshua and I ask him questions and I get answers. And one of the thing he said to me, I asked him I always say, what is your message for me to give to everybody? What do you want them to know? And besides the fact that he said, I'm coming back to earth with the heavenly host, he said that he goes, I, Yeshua, fixed the timeline. That's what he
mhm.
said. He said, I fixed the timeline. Or no, he said, I healed the timeline. He said, I healed the timeline. And I
Well,
said, what do you mean by that?
he's such an ascended being.
Mm-hmm.
He's so amazing, and we think that, oh, we're powerless to these, people that are in control, that it's just too big of a web of deceit and destruction to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
But these beings are super powerful, so I believe that they can help us, and that the great spirit, they have a plan. Because we're moving out of this old cycle and into a new cycle, so there's got to be a plan.
Well, are you one of the people I've talked to? I have several friends who all do this work that you and I do. And we always chat all the time about what's going on and why is it going on? Because people keep saying, why is it taking so long? Especially because I was told that what they call the big love wave event, that where the energy comes through and it wakes everybody up and changes everything. That was supposed to happen like 2 years or more ago. And people keep saying, why is it not happened yet? Well, what I was told, and I don't remember if you were one of the people who told me this, that that the beings on the other side wanted to let more people wake up on their own. And the reason for that is when that wave comes through, a lot of people are going to die and leave here because they're not going to be able to handle it if they're not already awake. So a lot of the people who aren't awake at the time when that thing comes through could possibly be gone. They could be ended, basically, because their physical form will not be able to handle that if they're not up in that frequency, that love frequency. And so they're being given time to wake up and get into a better frequency, so that when that comes through, they're not obliterated with all of the dark
and also
yeah.
there's going to be like so much has already been revealed and is being revealed as to the corruption of what's ruling this planet. And a lot of that stuff that's going to be revealed is people's deeply held personal beliefs with religion, with their politics, all these things.
All of it.
And
Yeah.
so they need to go at a pace where people can integrate the truth of what's going on, because if they go too fast, people will you know what I mean? So that's what I was told, is that people need to integrate the information. And so they need to go at a pace where it doesn't just make people's heads explode. So that's part of it.
Yeah, we don't want to see people stroking out and heart attacking all over the place,
Yeah.
when they get hit with all the stuff.
And I
Yeah.
was told about 3 years ago that there would be a lot of people leaving the planet. And that's nothing to worry about, because everybody is an eternal being. So they're just choosing. How Yeshua explained that to me is that kind of like it's like fruit ripening on the vine. If a person isn't ripe, they're just not ready to go with the ascending frequencies of this planet. So they're going to need to continue on ripening in another experience in another place. And that's fine. It's not a punishment. It's
No, it's just part of their journey. It's part of their journey.
The own soul choosing to have more ripening time so that they can ripen and develop as an eternal being. They're just not ready to go where this planet is going right now, because this planet is ascending. It's not just us, it's Mother Earth. And I was told we're going back to the paradisical state that it was originally.
She's going to heal. She's going to completely heal. Yeah.
And so I was told that also White Buffalo Calf Woman told me that the drought will soon be ending. And I think that there's different layers to what she said, and that actual water, because we're moving into the age of Aquarius. So
lots of water.
I think that there's going to be a lot of water sources that are going to surface up from underground more. My state, we've had flooding, this whole spring, and we've been in a drought for years and years and years. And she only told me that 2 years ago, and now our drought is kind of over.
Yeah, California got totally flooded out.
And then I think there's even a third layer to that, where it's the drought of being disconnected from spirit. Like that's been a drought. We have been disconnected from the Creator.
A spiritual drought.
Yes. So I think that's ending, and we're going to have more mystery schools, more esoteric knowledge coming.
Which is what I'm here for. That's why I came here, to bring that back. So
more archaeology, I've been told, is going to be coming forward so that we can learn our true history. Things will probably be coming out of the Vatican, out of the Smithsonian. They've been hoarding that to keep us from truth.
Keep us enslaved, basically. And this low mind, these docile, little stupid humans, that what they call the useless feeders. The Rockefellers call us the useless feeders,
Right. I know. They don't care about us. So
no.
So like I said, like the true kings and queens of this earth are going to come forward, and we're going to develop our divine internal abilities again. Those are going to start coming back online, because we've been cut off from those beautiful abilities and talents that we had.
Like telekinesis and telepathy. And have you ever seen that that video. It's a famous video that's gone all around called The Volunteers. And it's these two little children sitting on the beach and they're talking telepathically in the
Yeah,
future
yeah,
about what it was like, before everything changed and everything. Yeah. Love that video.
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be moving into a really beautiful new cycle of time. And
Yep.
I was also told that the fallen angels who have been let loose on this planet in order for
Hmm.
us to experience this will
Hmm.
never be allowed to come back here again. So I think this planet is in the final cycle of ascension. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I get. They're never going to be allowed here again. And
I actually heard that too, that they are banned. They're going to be, well, what they told me is they're literally going to be obliterated, and a lot of them are going to be recycled back to source. So some of the really bad ones, the ones who've turned, they're all given a chance to do what's called rehab. They call it spiritual rehab. Everybody's given a chance to rehab and come back to source. But if they just say, nope, I hate God, I despise God, and I'm going to continue to destroy everything of God. If they continue to do that, they're going to be obliterated and recycled back, basically,
right.
is what's going to happen. So,
Yeah,
but they're not going to
I'm
be
not
allowed
sure where
back
they're
here.
going. I don't worry about where they're going, but
They told me where they were going. They did
yeah,
tell me all that. Yeah, I've been talking about it for a long time, but I don't really care. What I care about is the fact that everybody who's left behind is going to be creating this whole beautiful thing, and it's going to be
right.
wonderful. Yeah.
So there's two more things I wanted to mention that are like kind of disempowering.
Hmm.
And one is when we go into like a false power. And
Hmm.
so one of the first things I was shown when my guides started initiating me was that just about any kind of spiritual modality can be inverted.
Hmm.
So I was on like the biggest shamanic group on Facebook that had
Hmm.
the most followers, like thousands and thousands of followers. But quickly learned that like that was the group that was totally infiltrated and was using shamanism in an inverted way. So when
That's
people are like
terrible.
think, oh, shamanism's evil, yeah, it can be evil if you use it that
If
way.
you use it bad, it's a
So
tool, right? It's a tool.
exactly. So like
So yeah.
so what's happening is when people use they try to empower themselves, but they're connecting to either demonic beings or false light tricksters,
Hmm.
and they're in the ego because they want the power,
Yeah.
so it's the people who are truly in their divine power are connected to source. They
Hmm.
don't even want to be leaders. They don't want to
Mm-mm.
control people.
Look, I don't want to be famous or anything like that. That's the last thing I want. I don't care about it and I don't want it, and it's just
Yeah,
not for me.
exactly. So,
So
if somebody's like
yeah.
wanting to control you in any way or
Yeah.
wanting to disempower you and say that they have the power or that they're the way for you to get to source or whatever,
Hmm.
that's like a false light. So
Yep.
they think that they're powerful, and they do actually have some power. I mean, I've had the leader of that group sent like a whole army of like these weird like warriors. They were almost like Mongolian sort of looking warriors. And it's funny because there was
Hmm.
another shaman that was in that group too. And they said, he's like, oh, I saw the same exact thing. I described it to him. He's like, yeah, they sent them to me too. And I think that they're working with these beings, and that it's not even necessarily that these beings want to be used by the shamans, but they're just in this weird symbiotic thing that's like a really dark, because they love the power, and so they're
Hmm.
sending you like an army of whatever. And so I had to call on God on
That's
course,
terrible. That's terrible.
and I was totally able to. They went back, once I was called on God. So that's one kind of like fake power that
Hmm.
people can have. Then so that's something that I would definitely, when if you're ever working with people, like just use your heart center and
Hmm.
try to feel their energy if you ever go to a shaman, because yes, there is evil shamans out there for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Also, gurus. Don't
Yep.
follow people who call themselves guru. In fact, most, like even Sadhguru has been photographed doing Masonic symbolism and with all the bad what do you call those guys?
Involved in the
The
world like an
Illuminatis.
in the
all the
World Economic
Illuminati.
Forum.
Yeah, they're the World Economic Forum. He's best buddies with all
They've paid
the,
him so much money. And then he took a
yeah.
motorcycle ride around to all the Native Americans, where they're still trying to disempower that culture because that culture is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And those people have been completely disempowered. So we need to, like, if you are Native American and listening to this, step back into your power. We don't need to rely on false government power structures and
Mm-hmm.
these false authorities. We need to come back to source, back to our own inner power, our own
Mm-hmm.
divinity. And so let's see. Well, I wrote a couple notes here. There's one more thing I wanted to say. Um,
Go for
oh,
it.
so if you're, I think we can lose power if we are in a really low vibration, and it,
Mm-hmm.
it causes our like energy field to have like leakages, holes.
Holes in your aura and all that. Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and so or if we have cords to somebody that's draining our energy,
Yep.
it can
Mm-hmm.
even be a family member. I mean, that happened with me recently, where I
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately had to cut cords with that person because
Yep.
they had all kinds of parasitical
They
entities
were,
were
yeah.
sucking my energy, so I had to
Mm-hmm.
cut cords with that person. But um, so just be aware of what you can do to strengthen your energy field, uplifting music, uplifting media, uplifting movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't watch things that are going to like
Yeah.
drag your field into like a yucky, sludgy energy. And
Yep.
eat good food, meditate, listen
Mm-hmm.
to music that you love when you meditate, so it'll help you connect
Mm-hmm.
to higher spiritual realm.
Drumming and chanting is really good, like chanting Om, or Hu, or, something, really positive, like Om Mani Padme Hum, or, something
Yeah.
like that. I mean, there's a lot of things you can chant that are really uplifting, that'll raise
And you
your,
can do the I am,
yeah, I am.
I am
Yeah.
sovereign,
I
I'm
am light. I am
powerful,
peace. I am love.
I am
Yeah.
abundant.
Mm-hmm.
So when you keep telling yourself things like, oh, I'm poor, that's the one I'm working on. Oh,
That lowers your
it,
vibration.
it keeps me in like
Yeah.
a victim poverty consciousness.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in like a a victim loop. That's like a very demonic kind of thing.
Yeah.
When you're just always in victimhood, you're going
Mm-hmm.
to disempower yourself. So you have to speak positively. And your body, I believe that your body has consciousness, like your cells have consciousness, your organs have their own
They
consciousness.
do. Everything in your body has consciousness, and you can
So,
talk to the parts of your
yeah.
body and love on it and heal it by talking to it and sending love to every cell and atom of your body. And
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. So it's really important to be like, just even if you're depressed, like try to like listen to some good music, dance, to go exercise, go for a walk, go out in nature, take your shoes off, ground, like try to
Yep.
get out of that loop, because those loops are going to keep you in a low
Keeps you
consciousness.
trapped.
They're going to keep
Yep.
your whole aura
Mm-hmm.
sludgy and yucky. What else here? So when we're in a low vibration, we've got holes in our aura like that because we're in victim loops or whatever
Yeah.
low
Victim mode.
consciousness
Mm-hmm.
thing. That also allows for parasites to come, because
And they attach to you. Yeah. They attract to all
they're
that. They attract to that.
they're
Yeah.
attracted to this lower victimhood energy.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in victimhood, you are
Yeah, the poor me, poor me, poor me. It's kind of like my situation. I was telling this to my husband because he was talking about people who they get sick and then they just bitch and bitch and bitch, but they don't do anything to help themselves. They just want to bitch and be a victim. And I was saying, well, not me, because I came down with these issues. And what's the first thing I do? I go research crazy to figure out how to fix myself immediately. I'm not going to be a victim. It's like, how do I fix this? How do I fix, oh, I'm having a tummy ache. What do I do to get rid of a tummy ache? What do I do to get rid of this? Because I'm not going to just allow myself to stay in that place. I want to get back to the joy. And in order to get to the joy, I need to fix whatever trauma or whatever thing I'm going through, that needs to be fixed so I can go back to the place of just total bliss and joy, and
Right.
you're not going to be blissful 24/7. It's not possible because we're in a human body and a human life having a human experience, right? You might be a divine spirit having a human experience, but you are having a human experience. So the problem is you're not going to be blissful and happy 24/7. I have a whole chapter in my Ascension 101 book on how to be happy the rest of your life. But the biggest thing you need to understand is you're not going to be happy every single moment of the day. So you're going to have things that are traumatic and things that are negative that happen, like your water heater explodes, or like in our house, when it was like 5 below zero, what do you think happened? Our heater stopped working and our heat wasn't coming on, and my husband was freaked out. So these kind of things are going to happen.
Life.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and what you do is you go in, you research, you figure it out, you fix it, and then what do? You return back to whatever makes you blissful and happy. You keep
Right.
going back to the joy. How do I create joy? How do I create peace in my life? How do I create balance in my life? How do I create love in my life? How do I create health in my life? That is what you need to be fully, you know, focusing your attention on. But then when the nasty things of your life take away your attention, like suddenly your child's teacher is reading them a book about sexually grooming children in the school, and they're like 5 years old or something, you're going to get your butt in your car, you're going to drive to the school, and you're going to let them have it. Hopefully, you're going to go to the school district and say, this isn't okay. But the thing is that once you take care of that business, what we do, like the song, taking care of business, once you take care of the business in your life, what do? You don't go down a rabbit hole of despair. Oh, poor me, I have all these bad things happen. I get letter after letter from people. Oh, all these bad things happen. Why are they happening? Oh, why? You know why? Because you're just focusing on all the bad things happening instead of it. What do? You go and you tackle each thing one at a time. Okay, I have 5 things all happening at once. Which one takes priority in my life to tackle first? Okay, I'm going to tackle this thing over here with the trash compactor breaking. And then I'm going to go over here and deal with the teacher. And then I'm going to go over here and deal with this cut on my leg. And then I'm going to go, and you prioritize it. But then as soon as you're done with those issues, what do? You don't sit there and go, well, poor me, my life sucks, blah, blah. No, you go back to, how do I create joy? How do I laugh? How do I dance? How do I sing? How do I play? How do I embrace my
And
inner
it
child?
takes a concerted effort because life is hard, and I'm not by any means saying, don't feel your sadness or don't feel your lower
Yeah,
emotion. Yes, feel it, but then
absolutely.
move through it and
Hmm.
make sure you
Don't dwell on the
don't get
sadness.
into a loop of staying in that vibration.
Yeah.
Feel the emotion, and then let it move through you and let it go, and do something, physically do something to help you get out of it. And I just listed a bunch of stuff that you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll go ahead and agree with what you said. I'm not telling people don't feel your feelings, don't not feel angry or not feel sad or upset or pissed off or whatever. Absolutely, because if you don't feel your feelings and express your emotions and process through your emotions, you're just going to make your physical body really sick, and then you're going to eventually die sooner
Yeah,
than you
you don't want
should.
like, and
Yeah.
that's where I come in. Like that's one of the things that I really help people with is like moving, clearing out chakras, clearing out trapped emotions.
Hmm.
There's everybody's so individual and so different. So I can't say, oh, I do this, because every session is so different depending on what the person needs. Sometimes, people have experienced so much trauma that their soul has kind of fragmented and they need a soul retrieval. That's another way to empower yourself, is call back the parts of you that have left because of deep trauma, and ask, you say, I call back all the parts of me that I'm ready to integrate now, and that I can be a whole empowered being, because we're not
Love
just
that.
this body, we are a
We're
spiritual
spirit.
beings.
Hmm.
Yes, and that spirit, it can fragment, and so we need to make that whole again, and that is part of what a shaman does. And also, being an interdimensional being and teaching people to do that, because not everybody can do that. They're just not there yet. And so,
Mm-hmm.
as a shaman, part of our role is to bring back information for humanity, for the collective, that we receive from the higher realms, from other dimensions, because not everybody is able to do that yet. I do think that a lot of people are seeing their abilities come online in that regard, but
Mm-hmm.
not everybody is ready in there. And I do think that the time of having a mediator and a guru is kind of over, but yet there's still like people here that are meant to be teachers and guides to help people move into their empowerment. It's not that we're here to tell you what to do or to take the place like a religious leader would, but we're just here to help you empower yourself and learn how to step into your divine empowerment. And then I think another thing that's very disempowering is when people leave religion and then because they feel so violated and lied to, that they don't feel like there's no spirit, and so they just throw out the whole entire spiritual everything. And so when you're not in your divine empowerment and in the flow state with source, you're really disempowering yourself, because that is source is where all power comes from, right?
Yep.
So when you deny source, you're denying your ultimate power. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's true power right there. And that's what I would say would be the most empowering thing, is to be in that flow state with source, and to trust in that flow that comes to you, that guidance that comes to you, especially right now. Like, we're going to be going through some crazy stuff coming up
Yep.
as everything's revealed.
This year is going to
Things are
get more and more intense.
I
This
feel like,
year we'll just keep getting more and more intense as the
yep,
year
yep,
goes
that's
on.
what I've been told too, that this year is going to
Mm-hmm.
be insane, as far as power structures collapsing, people, the dark really making clawing their way to maintain their control over this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Possible World War III scare. What Yeshua told me is
yeah,
they were going to pull out the China is attacking America card, and they're going to do a false Chinese invasion is what they're going to do. Because I asked him, are they going to do a false UFO invasion? And he said, no, they can't do that because what we need to be able to join the galactic group, and we can't do that if everybody on Earth is terrified of ETs. And so they'll never do an ET invasion, because then we will never be able to welcome them to the planet, because everybody will be terrified of them. So instead, what they're going to do is a World War III scenario with the China and all of that, is what he said. And he told me, do not be in fear when you see it happening. He said, I'm taking care of everything. Everything's going to be okay.
I got the same thing. Yep.
Yeah, he said, when you see it, because he said it's going to happen, and he said when it happens, he said, don't
Don't be afraid.
don't worry about it, don't be afraid. He said nothing's going to happen to you.
The
you're,
people who
you're going
are
to be
meant to
fine.
be here, and
Yeah,
like I said, the pure in heart, we're protected.
yeah.
If your soul has chosen to make it through this, there's nothing to be afraid of. If your soul hasn't chosen to make it through this, there's nothing to be afraid of. I
No,
believe
because there's no death. There is no death.
there's no death. We're all eternal beings. There's all kinds of angelic guidance to help you as you cross
Hmm.
over, and people like us that help people to get
And
to
you
where
can come back again if they
they go.
take you out or something. You just come back again later on, maybe later on when the world's a better place. You come back in again as a newborn baby and do it again. So
Yeah, it's a crazy time.
So I'm looking at the time, and I have to run because I
Okay.
have to go do stuff with my family. But I just wanted you, Kat, to please tell everybody where can they find you. And definitely, I know you have your YouTube channel is called Red Mountain Shaman, right?
Red Mountain Shaman. Yep. So you can
Yeah.
go watch my videos there.
Hmm.
I always try to. It's not a very big channel yet, so I'm still able to interact with people
Yeah.
and put a little heart on your comment.
Yeah.
And then if you want to go to my website for a session and kind of the services that I offer, it's just redmountainshaman.com. I have 7 records, and you can go to Bandcamp and check out my music. It's Paladine, Palodine. There's another Paladine with an A, so make sure you spell it. Um, Yeah, that's about it. So I'm an artist. I'll oftentimes I'll put my paintings on my videos. Um,
And your husband's a musician with you too, right?
yeah, we're soulmates for sure.
Yeah,
So
that's so
he
awesome. I wish.
Yeah, we write the lyrics and he does.
Yeah.
He's more of the musician of the
Hmm.
two of us. I mean, I am the drummer. So you can see like us playing live if you want on YouTube too. Let's type in Paladine live. So that's part of my shamanic. I've always kind of, you know, been a musical person, but I think spirit kind of guided me to go into be the drummer because our drummer quit, early on in our band, and so I had no drumming experience whatsoever, and so my drums are just very kind of tribal and very shamanic. So when you see it, I'm not trained at all. I've never taken any music lessons, but yeah, so that's a big part of my life. And I feel like when we do shows, it's a very healing event, whether people consciously know that or not. So I really enjoy playing live. I don't do much of it, but hopefully the arts will be exploding more and that artists and musicians and people who are creative will be able to have the resources that we need instead of giving our power over to these record labels or these
Right.
managers or all these
Yep.
people that are in control of the arts because the arts are so powerful and so
Yep. I have
you
singing
know
videos on my YouTube channel too. I just sing. I don't play any musical instruments. It's just a cappella, me singing. And I don't know how to do mixing and recording stuff and studio stuff or any. So I just record myself on my phone and then I just put it up on my YouTube. But maybe someday in the future, you and I will get to collaborate on something.
yeah, well, what my guide said is like they just said do what you can do with the resources that you have now. Don't
Yeah.
just do as much as you can do and just put it out there. And hopefully in the future, we'll be given more resources as the
Yep.
old power structures start crumbling.
And
That's
the new
my
money
hope.
system comes in, the
Yeah.
rainbow money that they've been showing. I guess they already have it, and it's yeah, I already saw pictures of it. It's this rainbow money, and I just want to point this out to everybody. I'm hearing a lot of stories of friends that are going into their bank and asking the bank teller if they know anything about the QFS or the new money or the gold back system, and the tellers will say no, I don't know anything, and they'll go ask the manager, and the manager will go, yeah, shh, don't tell anybody. They sign like an NDA, like a non-disclosure thing, but
Non-disclosure.
apparently a bunch of these
Wow.
banks like know, and some of the tellers actually know too, and have been saying, yeah, I know all about it, and whatever. But there is changes coming. It's in the works. I'm not really sure what the holdup is. I have no clue, but we know there's got to be a good reason for it. So
Yeah, I have
just
a video on the currency situation too, and
yeah,
that I received that message of like at
yeah.
least a year ago, I think. So I
Hmm.
do believe that it's going to be gold backed.
Yeah, and
So
yeah, and silverback, gold and silver. And I think it's going to be in place fully probably within the next 6 months for sure. I don't think it's going to go too much longer. I don't think it can
I feel like
because
this year is like going to be really
yeah.
big. I don't. I just feel like a really propelling energy happening right now. Like I don't know if it's just going to be like a year of more disclosure and corruption being exposed, and
It's going to be a lot of forward movement and fast too
I
because
feel
it's the year
it.
of the rabbit, so it moves
Yes.
fast.
Oh, and I
Yeah.
was on the phone with somebody who wanted to just connect from my YouTube videos, and I was
Mhm.
talking to her, and this rabbit floated by. It was like it looked exactly like a rabbit cloud.
Wow.
Yeah, it is the year of the rabbit, so that's look into that. That's pretty interesting too. Yeah, so
Great.
there's a lot of momentum, and I feel real hopeful and positive. So let's just keep our energy high, and hopefully you
Awesome.
do more videos in the future.
Yeah, definitely. We talked about maybe doing a monthly video, so that would be fun on different subjects. But I'm going to go ahead and put your website in the description for everybody watching. If you want her Kat's website and the link to her YouTube channel, they will be in the description. And also, if you wish to donate to the work that I'm doing here on YouTube, since I don't make any money at all from YouTube, I don't get paid by them. There are links below that you can donate to my work. It definitely helps me and my family out to pay some bills, because I'm constantly being threatened by my husband that I have to quit all this work I'm doing and go take a full-time job and,
It's
stuff
hard
like
to
that.
do this
Yeah.
work and have another job. It is.
Yeah, I can't do both. I can't do
Yeah.
both at all. And so I do sessions and I have classes and I have my books, and that's how I make some money to support my family. But lately I haven't been doing very much of that either. And I'm getting to the point, I'm getting really close to where hubby's going to say, you're not allowed to do any of this stuff anymore and you got to go
Yeah.
get a job again. And so, yeah,
Well,
so.
hopefully we'll be getting a new
Right.
system and that'll help with resources. So I
Yeah.
that's, like I said, I don't know when it's coming, but I really hope it's in our lifetime so we can enjoy the fruits of that, and
Yeah,
start
absolutely.
building.
Yeah, I hope it is. I really do hope it's in this. I think it is, because I've seen myself in the future. I've had future visions of what I'm going to be doing in like 10, 20 years from now and stuff like that. And so I really think that there's good
Yeah, I
things
do too.
happening.
I do too. So
Yeah.
keep faith.
And I've been given orders. My marching orders for right now are to help everybody and then go around the world and teach all the Essene teachings. But after a certain period of time, I'm going to be moving into only working with children and animals. So I'm probably going to be working with adults maybe another 10 years or so. I don't know. And then in the future, I'm going to be working with animals and children. So pretty exclusively just with like animals and children. So
We have a
yeah.
feral cat in our basement right now that gave kittens, and it's a black cat and a black kitten, and the other two kittens died. So I have two black cats in my basement. So that's like a definite interesting message going on there. I'm trying to decipher right now. But I do feel like, yeah, working with animals, and if you have an animal that needs help, definitely step up to the plate, because most people won't, and they need
Mhm.
our help. They're innocent, vulnerable beings,
Yep. Yeah, we were talking about this earlier, how we both rescue animals in the neighborhood all the time. I'm
Yeah.
constantly rescuing animals, and whether it's in my own backyard or it's, running around the neighborhood. Like we'll see a stray dog running around and we'll go grab it and bring it in our car, take it home and
Yep.
find the owner and take care of it. And we go out of our way to find the owner. We won't just go take it to a pound or something. We really spend time searching for the owner and advertising it on, Facebook and everywhere and in the neighborhood
Get the
pages. And
animals chipped and get it
yeah,
to its family,
yeah,
or adopt it if you can. If it's
yeah,
not chipped, like there's so many things you can do to help with animals and
yeah.
power
Wildlife
animals
too.
too. We're going to talk about, like, maybe next time we can talk more about power animals.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about animal kind of stuff in general next time. I want to talk about spirit guide animals and stuff
Yeah,
like that, because that's why I'm wearing my shirts here, my spirit
wolf.
guide animals. I have a whole book
Yeah,
all about spirit guide animals and the different messages they bring and stuff. So we definitely need to cover that
that's
next
a
time.
huge part of
So
shamanism, is
yeah.
empowering yourself with the
Hmm.
signature energy of that
Hmm.
animal. And the wolf
Hmm.
is actually the first spirit guide that came to me. It was a white wolf sitting in my driveway.
Yeah,
So
that's what mine
I,
is. It's an
I love
actual
that you
white
have
wolf.
your wolf's t-shirt on. So that's another connection we have in common. So yeah,
Yeah,
that
the
should be our
wolf
next
is white.
video. Power
Absolutely.
animals.
Absolutely. And I'm such a dork. I actually will go out and howl at the moon and stuff. I feel very wolfy. I feel very wolfy. I think if I was actually an animal or I became an animal, it would definitely be a wolf. So I feel very wolfy.
Yeah, they're beautiful animals.
So, all right. Well, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for joining us. Please like and share this video. If you like it, it gets seen by more people. Also, when you comment, and please subscribe to this channel, share it with anybody you know that would help them. And we love you for all your support. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Soul Family. And just buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Thank you, Kat, for joining me today. I appreciate
Got it.
you.
Thanks for inviting me. It's been fun to talk.
Absolutely.
Do it again.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.